All right, my longtime friend, Lou, welcome to the show. Sometimes I like to say, hey, this is Lou's background, but every time I introduce you to somebody, I don't know if you've gotten accustomed to this yet, but I typically say, hey, Lou, can you introduce yourself? So, Lou, let me hear
Yes.
you. Let me hear you give it a go.
What up, world? What up, team? It's your boy, Mr. PTS, the co-father himself, squad, social excellence, that Lou Macro Lou. If I can't even wait, I want to be either Lou, the Belichick in the box, the 50 Cent of the CrossFit game, because you throw one quarter at the booty and watch two bounce back at it. That's right. Judge Poppy is here with the one and the only Mr. Jason. Hey.
Well, well, Judge Poppy, first of all, welcome. And I've told this story before, but Roz and I showed up at your box, CrossFit MDI. This must be over 3 years ago now.
3 years,
And
yeah.
yeah, we first of all, you had, what was it, Valkyrie Donuts there?
Valkyrie Donuts, which is still a big hit. They're one of the only donut places that were still open during the whole COVID, complete shutdown and things like that. So I would get my fix and get it. So they're like the only – there's other little pop-up shops here that's open, but they are like the number one donut spot and vegan donut spot that gives you like the most incredible donuts ever.
I remember it. I remember the vegan donuts. But, we walk in. We had driven from Naples to Orlando on a Saturday morning, and you give us this introduction. We're hugging people, and we had a great workout. Then we did a nutrition seminar, and ever since then, we've just been friends. And most of the time I get to see you, it's at the games or at some sort of big competition. And
Yes.
the reason I reached out to you was because most recently you were a part of the Rogue Invitational that was completely virtual. So
that was such an amazing experience. Yes, and I miss seeing you one-on-one and giving the big hugs and stuff like that. I'm a hugger, so not being able to hug you and Roz has been, a little sad, but eventually those hugs are coming back soon. I have to come out to Colorado and give you a big old giant hug or vice versa. But yeah, the
I would
new
love you
Rogue
guys to
virtual
come
thing.
out. Yes, I would love for you guys to come out. But yeah, let me hear what you have to say, and I'm going to ask you some questions. But before you're going to say you're going to say a lot of positive things right now about Rogue. So let me hear you say it, and then let me ask you some questions.
So it was definitely different because I was actually in Rogue last year when they did the first invitational. So I was on the grounds. I got to experience the amazingness of like the 67 acres, the 600,000 square foot facility that they have over there. It was really awesome. And to hear their story of how they started is a pretty amazing thing. They were very class act. And then to be able to be part of the team in 2020, this whole virtual thing, I was like, oh man, this isn't not going to have the same effect as, as it was last time. Being as big, it's just almost felt like a mini CrossFit Games being over there. And it was the opposite. It was a class act. They had great leadership that was holding down the fort. We would meet with Katie all the time. We had all the head judges, had Zoom meetings all the time. It's like the new Zoom everything. So, and everything was to the pack. I mean, there was times where, we're never supposed to have our phones on when we judge and things like that. But being that the times that we're in, we were plugged in just like so while we were judging, listening to like the head judge and things like that. So it was a really, really cool experience and definitely first of its kind, history of its kind that people from all over the world. I mean, you have Cara Webb, aka Cara Saunders, in Australia. I think she was doing her workouts at like midnight or 2 a.m. kind of craziness. And then you got Laura that was in Hungary. Just people from all over the world. And the workout really did happen at the same time. So all the athletes were going at the same time in their own perspective, different gyms. Rogue sent them their own equipment packages, so everything was pretty fair. So it was an amazing experience. It was definitely an honor to be part of like a history-making thing like that.
So let's talk all about it. And before we even get to Rogue, we get a lot of people. I had a call yesterday with someone, and he was like, "I want to become a judge at the games." And you are one of the people I mentioned. You, our mutual friend Noah,
Yes.
and a handful of other people. And it's like, you guys are the people that they should be talking to, not me, because you've really just worked your way up. Mike Kaplan is another mutual friend.
Yes, Mike Kaplan.
Tell me about your start in judging, because you guys, and I'm sure you have many other people that you would reference there, but you've worked your way up to basically become, seminar staff. We get to go to the games most years. Who knows what the future's like, and judge the top individuals. But I wouldn't say we're kind of like gifted that, like we earned it as well. But you guys have really worked your way into that position. So tell me what that was like, and what it's like now.
I'll never forget. It was 2013 is when I first started judging. My first ever, well, actually being not even judging, just being able to be part of the regionals team. They sent, the link out, like what CrossFit Games always does, like who wants to be able to volunteer and help and things like that. And so I want to help out. I own a gym. I want to be able to judge and things like that. And it didn't happen for me. I had to start loving. They put me on special assignments. I was handing out coffee to people, and then I was running up the down and ladder for
Special assignments.
special assignments.
Coffee.
Basically
Yeah.
means if someone is missing, they're going to put you in that particular slot. So whether it's me getting coffee for somebody, whether it's me putting up Rogue signs and CrossFit headquarters signs, whether it's me rolling equipment out onto the field, my special assignment was to go and just make sure the job gets done and to fill in. And every year I would post and fulfill. And I remember in 2014, I finally made it to the CrossFit Games in California, which was the last year they had it in California, which is very special to be part of that. So I did regionals a bunch of times. 2014 was my first games experience. And then just meeting people, networking, and then them saying, oh, he moves. I would always work out. That's what I was known for. Everyone knows that. Or they ever see me at regionals or at the games.
Let me tell you, working out at the games and regionals is no easy task. You're exhausted,
No.
You're sleep deprived, you're stressed, you're not eating right. And it's something that I pride myself on. Every day there's like 2 or 3 of us, but we do like something kind of half-assed. Like, hey, grab these dumbbells and we'll do something. Like, you're in there squatting 315, like doing a full day of programming. And I'm this guy's crazy.
I love it. So I make friends, and I ask, like, can I go in the, before we go on assignment, if I come in early, if I put all my stuff away, can I come in and use the workout area? And they're like, yes, Lewis. I'm like, a lot of people will see me move and like, oh, he moves pretty well, and gain friendships. And I was like, yeah, I own a gym. And I started judging, like, local competitions. And they're like, special assignments, here we go. We need someone to go and fill in. And whether it's just me standing, watching someone run for 400 meters, that's pretty much how it started. And they're like, oh, we like this guy. This guy is a pretty dude. He moves pretty well. He knows the standards. He knows the movements. And then just build up from there. And then from there, just started doing all the regionals, started doing all the games. So I actually been judging since 2015 games. So this would be, if everything goes fine this year, this would be my 5th year physically judging. But again, I didn't get to judge the elites right away. I went from judging teenagers, and from teenagers to the masters, and then from masters, they believe in you. They say, okay, he judges really well. He understands the movements. He goes in there pretty confident. And I got to be part for the last 2 years on the elite team. So I got to judge like the elite guys on the teams and stuff like that, which is really cool. And that's why I get to see you all the time. We get to bump into each other in our conference room. So
this past year, for the first time, we were judging the same events, which was cool.
That's awesome.
There's all you guys. I mean, that huge room in Madison, who knows? I just read something before we hopped on that the games are probably getting pushed back again now. It's looking like September. So who knows what's going to happen this year, but whatever happens this year, hopefully in 2021, I'll see you somewhere. But
absolutely,
I really think that just goes to show for the people listening, it's not luck. It's not, maybe a little bit of luck, right place, right time, but it's really just showing up, doing the grunt work. Everybody wants to reap the rewards, but they don't see the really, 5 years of being, getting coffee, doing crazy thing. I mean, and not to mention in the beginning there, I assume you're paying for your own travel, your own stay,
everything.
Your own food. Slowly you work your way up, and maybe there's some compensation, but it takes time to get there. And you and a bunch of those other people that I've mentioned, I see it. You guys are a crew. Like, you guys enjoy
Absolutely.
it and live for it. Like, it's awesome to watch. I see the videos of you guys singing like Bismarcky or whatever you guys sing.
And so we are a pretty close group. Like, for the last 3 years, and since it started in Madison, when I went to Madison, just being around each other all day for hours on days, and then making sure not just keeping that friendship during the games, but they would come visit me. I would go visit them, and just keeping these relationships going. That when we go, I mean, we are like pretty much. They call us team princesses now, because wherever there's a sanctioned event or something, we're like a small knit group that goes out there and we do these things. And I think one of the years we got a boat. It was last year. We got a boat right before the CrossFit Games, and we had a judge party on the boat in Madison. So it's pretty cool. So it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are led by, especially at the games, probably have a whole episode on this, but you're led by Todd and Chuck.
Oh my God, one of the two most amazing men I've ever met.
You get to no idea what you guys went through with those two, especially Todd.
Oh my God, Todd is amazing. I mean, me and Todd, I got to tell you this story this one time. Todd, military guy, funny dude. I'm a military brat. So we have sometimes some little twisted humor and things like that. And there was this one event I never forget. I was in probably like lane 5 or lane 6. And we would go in there and there was a sled push event, and it was the teams were pushing this sled, and they had a sprint, and literally you lose your legs. The athlete had Bambi legs and literally did like a scorpion over, and he looked at me and I looked at him during the event, and I was like trying to hold composure on camera, and he was like, oh man, Todd's amazing. Chuck's an amazing leader. So it's just, they're both guys I really, really miss. And I know last year with some of the big changes and stuff like that, they weren't, sure if, they were going to continue to be, the leaders and head judges for us, but, fingers crossed that they will, because those guys are some amazing men, and I'd work for those men anytime.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have obviously Chuck as a close friend, and, I've gotten to know Todd over the years as well. Awesome people. And again, just like you, people that, now they're in the position they're in because they showed up. For most of us, it was like we volunteered our time, and it was just this unwavering passion for CrossFit. So let's dive specifically into Rogue. This happened we're recording this on Friday, June 26th. So I think it was 2 weekends ago now?
But 2 weekends ago, yep. And each judge had their own selected athlete and city or that they were going to.
So I do want to talk about what it was like to judge during that kind of state of CrossFit. But before we get there, tell me even how it became about. You judged Cheryl Nasso, who's also in Florida. But how did you even find out? Did somebody reach out to you directly and be like, hey, because you have this close proximity to Cheryl, we're going to send you there? Or just because you're this, it's one of our top judges, we need you? Who reaches out to you? And what was that like?
Rogue. So Sue, which was one of the heads, and Drake.
Drake's from Germany. Also
Drake from Germany.
Good friend. Great dude. Yeah.
So they reached out. They're like, hey, Lewis, remember you did the 2019 Invitational. We liked everything that you did. If we were to do this and we can pull this off, would you want to be part of something that's going to be like part of history? I said, absolutely, sign me up. I wouldn't even bat an eye. You let me know the days and I'll be there. So they reached out, and then we had to fill out some paperwork and things like that, because Rogue did like some NDAs and all that kind of stuff like that, because they were going to give us information like workouts. We knew our athlete already. So like, this is, depending, because you don't want people to travel too much. This is going to be your particular athlete. So make sure that you fill out this particular paperwork, that you cannot release any information, before this time and all that kind of stuff. So it was very
right, because the events, so much. And this is probably when is this happening?
Oh my God, this
must have been somewhere in the pandemic, because they realized at that point we're going virtual.
We already had a selected team. So we were already a selected team back in January, February. I want to say about 90% of the team that did the 2019 Invitational was going back to do the 2020.
When it was still planning to be in Ohio, right?
It was Ohio. And then we started getting, this sanctioned event canceled, this sanctioned event canceled, this sanctioned event canceled. Broke a lot of our hearts, because we already had a place where all the judges were staying together over there. They were excited. This is like our way for us to, meet up again. And then boom, breaking news, Ohio's not going to happen. And then I want to say maybe 2 weeks after that, Drake reached out and says, hey, and Sue reached out saying, hey, we're going to try to pull this thing off virtually. Would you be interested in doing it? And Charlotte, which is also in charge, she's also in charge of the games as well. She's in charge of picking the judges and getting the staff and the team ready for
That's a red-haired woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Charlotte Ferguson, if I can remember.
Right. So at this point, how many athletes were in Rogue? 20 men, 20 women?
18 men, 18 women.
So 36 judges are selected. You are told at what point that you have Cheryl Nasso?
Immediately. So they started Excel spreadsheet, and they're like, okay, he's in Florida. Closer to him would be Cheryl. I think another one of my colleagues that was in a little bit more South Florida got Noah, because Noah's in Florida as well. Noah's
Miami, right?
So they tried to get it where it was going to be easier for us to travel into those particular areas, is how they assigned it. And there was some kind of like people that were like overseas and stuff like that. I guess they had to have, some kind of questionable, like, who can be as close as possible to Iceland. Who knows? That's pretty That's out there. So you
find out you have Cheryl. And how far is Cheryl from you in Orlando?
An hour and a half. It was an easy drive.
So did you commute back and forth over those 2 days, or did you stay in? Where was it?
No, Rogue was very generous. They took care of a lot of things. And again, I'm just thankful. Like we go over, like, you progress and you serve coffee and you volunteer, and then eventually you actually get
Now
you're
you're
getting
staying at
taken
the
care
Ritz, the Ritz, a
Yeah.
5-star hotel. So,
So
and where was Cheryl competing
she
out of?
was in Port St. Lucie,
Port
Port
St.
St.
Right.
Lucie,
And what box were
and
you at for
a
that?
place called Culture Fitness, which was a little bit different because I don't think they're affiliated, Culture Fitness. So I don't know how Rogue worked it out, which box. I think maybe they picked. They asked the athlete, because the original home box of Cheryl was a big CrossFit gym, but they're also attached to a what we call a Globo gym, like a LA Fitness or something like that, and it had to be completely shut down because you can't have people working out while the taping and the recordings are happening live. So she had to ask one of her friends who owned a fitness facility to be able to use their stuff like that, like a functional fitness gym that had all the right necessities of what they needed. But Rogue equipped everything. I mean, every athlete got their own Rogue goodie
So,
bag.
well, that's what I was going to ask you. So I assume like this stretch limo comes, picks you up, drives you. No, you drive over to Port St. Lucie. When do you head over? Thursday, Friday? I know the event was Saturday and Sunday.
We had a meeting with their stage manager and the athlete on Friday night. So
All
because I was
via
so
Zoom.
no, we were actually the athlete itself and the stage manager. We had to be in physical meeting. Obviously, we had to practice our social distancing and stuff like that, but we had to be in the same building and meet and look to see if everything was set up with the cameras that Friday, because the competition started on Friday. So I left Friday morning
Oh, the
because
competition actually started on Friday. I'm sorry,
yeah.
not Saturday. So okay, so I wasn't aware of this. In addition to you and Cheryl, every athlete also had a stage manager.
Stage manager, it could be a coach, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, but that stage manager was in charge of not so much briefing, just making sure that all the equipment was right. We had little cheat sheets. Pretty much, we were like a one-man army. At the games, we're kind of spoiled. We have a scorecard, we have scorekeepers, we have athlete control, we have equipment. We were everything all together. The one, including the stage manager, and they're actually the ones that or what we call the backup judge. They were actually counting the reps for the live TV. So they're sitting there punching the computer screen, counting the reps, so people that are actually physically watching could actually see all this stuff online. So, but they were in charge of just making sure that the athlete was aware of what time they needed to go on, making sure the athlete was prepped. And then from there, 10 minutes before the workout started, then I became athlete control, scorekeeper, judge, and everything else on top of that.
So you keep saying, it sounds to me like Rogue sent all 36 athletes a box of equipment.
A box of amazing goodies. So they got.
You know what? I can't even buy bumper plates, and 36 athletes are getting. So what'd they
Yes.
get? What was in this box of equipment?
It
Did
was
you get any
two.
yourself? Did you get
They
any
did.
sent?
They took care of some stuff, not equipment. They did take care of us in other great ways
I bet you got those
financially. So,
Nano X's right now. I bet you're wearing those right now.
yes, I did. Those they sent so ahead of time, which were by far my favorite nanos so far.
I just got my
Um,
pair. I haven't worn them yet, but yeah, I'm
oh,
excited.
you'll love them. But they got two barbells. They got the big Rogue Plyo box, the one that's like the nice foamy one, the real nice one. They got the new Rogue Echo bike. They got a rower. They received
Pays to be
the
fit, huh?
yeah,
Well, what else did
and
they get?
pretty much everything that was in the workout. So I want to say it was over 500 something pounds plus of beautiful Rogue bumper plates.
Well, yeah, I mean, Tia hit 270, so we
And they
know there
were
was at least that. So it sounds like the only equipment they might not have gotten is some sort of rig.
they needed just a facility for handstand, the handstand push-ups and the rig and stuff like that.
Was
So I
there
know that
any? Was there any? What were you gonna say? That Noah?
I think Noah did his on the first day of competition. He did his in his little garage. Like he's got like a carport. He actually did the first workout because all it required was him to have his pull-up rig. He did his at his house in his own comfort. And then the other workouts he did at his home gym, which is Peak 360.
So was there any requirements as far as the rig goes, diameter of the pull-up bar? Was it just like, hey, if you can hang from this thing, it will count it?
Yeah, so it didn't really matter like what kind of pull-up bar it was, if it was a Rogue pull-up bar or anything like that. They just needed some kind of pull-up system that was going to happen, and it needed to be at least 6 inches where they can't just like touch the floor, and like they had to physically jump 6 inches to the bar and things like that.
So, and that makes sense. Now, in addition to that, obviously it was also important, at least from a spectator viewpoint, it looked like everyone was basically set up the same way.
Absolutely. So
So,
the stage manager was in charge of finding an area. So their job before we got there was to find out the perfect camera angle that Rogue's going to be able to stream live, and then taping a box. I don't know if you saw, like everyone was taped into a box
yes.
and in a workout area that can fit into frame. The handstand pushes, all that was done ahead of time by the stage manager before I even got there.
And, it looked like it worked out pretty well. I guess the only concern could have been distance from a rig if needed, but it looked like everybody was basically able to hit the same criteria.
It was pretty fair. I mean, there was different, depending on people's spots. I know that we were in a little bit of a tight spot in one particular area, but everyone was pretty close because the box needed to be like for certain workouts. The camera could be moved, and there could be more than one particular tape box. Because I know, like, your rig may not be by the handstand area. So when they wrote the workouts out, they wrote them pretty easy where it'd be accessible for everybody. So it's not like I would have to like run and move the camera to do a handstand push up and then push it back towards the rig. They kept everything pretty much generally close to what it needed to be.
So, and this is a different scenario than the games where you run out, you get your athlete, your scorecard. You're not with the same athlete multiple times. You're not
Yeah.
really talking. What was the difference for you during this? I mean, there's probably a lot of downtime that you're spending with Cheryl, which is
Yes.
not normal at the
It's
games. You're
not
not really
normal.
developing a relationship with athletes.
So this is 100% correct. It's almost like they're gladiators. They get walked into the arena, they perform, and then they get escorted out the building. So this is a little bit different because now you have so much downtime in between workouts, and you get to physically see what the athlete's going through, whether they're laying there, whether they eat or they're not eating, how their warm-ups are. Like, I would watch Cheryl's warm-ups, and they'd be like these full-on workouts. So like, oh my God, girl, that's like my workout. And that's your warm-up. And then, you speak to them, and you get to, converse with them and get to know them on a personal level and things like that. So it's a little bit different. It was at one particular point, it was like, I not as a judge, we have to be a judge. We have to physically, but it's like secretly you're rooting for them. You're like, come on, girl, this is just me and you doing this workout together. Like, I'm invested in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, we need to do this. We need to get to these pull-ups quick. So, it's a little bit different from the games on that point because you do build that relationship with them. There's still that professionalism. Like, I'm still going to know rep if you don't hit the movements, but I get to spend time with her, and I get to see how she moves. I get to see what I know is going to be maybe like a weakness for her, what's going to be a little bit longer with her and things like that. So a lot of downtime, a lot of chatting and things, and then you build these relationships, which is pretty cool. She's a really amazing lady, Cheryl. So really
She's
cool.
a great person. I have known her over the years, and most recently did her level 2, and I saw her at the games last year. I remember during the ruck run, she kind of crossed paths, and she was like, Jason. I'm like, pick up your 10 pounds and get the hell out of here. But,
Yeah.
she's that type of person. So is it something where you created a friendship now because you spend so much time with
Absolutely.
her? Yeah,
Definitely friendship. And when she comes to Orlando, I open up my gym with open arms, let her train and get her things and stuff like that. She's an awesome lady. So she's very, very cool. So
Now, I
definitely a
know
friendship is built.
there was no music, correct?
That is probably the toughest thing. So they're not allowed to have any kind of music and stuff like that. I know when they're warming up. So we have a 10-minute call out. So when the 10-minute hits, everything goes dead silence. So they can warm up, they can get amped up, and they can listen to their headphones, and they can listen to music and thing. For the most part, when that 10-minute mark hits, it's dead silence. It's just you and the athlete. The athlete waits in their particular box. They can continue to warm up, and then there's a 3-minute call. When they hit 3-minute, nothing can be touched at that particular point. And then we go to a regular stance. We get on one knee. We get ready to count. We make sure the stage manager is ready to count the reps on the computer screen. Make sure the camera's set up. I'm plugged in just like so, like listening to head judges call, say, hey guys, 3 seconds out, 10 seconds out.
What were you plugged into? Like, I know your headphones, but what were you using to coordinate with that? Was it Zoom? Was it just a phone call?
It was an app called Discord.
Oh yeah, that's like Slack. Yeah.
So it's a thing called Discord where we can actually physically chat and talk to each other, like texting wise, or we can hear each other. For the most part, we were all on mute, so they don't hear like heavy breathing and counting and all that kind of stuff like that. But when we were off, like when the workout ended, we would have briefs still, like how we do at the games.
So you have had your earbuds in, obviously connected to your phone in your pocket or whatever. Who are the head judges that are talking to you?
Drake.
Drake was the head. So Drake is basically sitting at a computer screen watching 18 judges, no different than the games. And he might be like, hey, Lou, Cheryl's not going deep enough. Watch that.
Yeah, so Drake and Rob. Rob is, if I can
Rob
remember,
Lawson.
Rob Lawson, he's
Scottish.
amazing. Scottish.
Scottish
I love
freak,
him.
yeah.
Yes, he's amazing. Both of them would be talking to it in our ear and things like that if something was going on.
Let me give you a quick Rob story. Very high level rugby player. Judged the
Really?
CrossFit Games. Great dude. There are times at the games where Dave Castro would come in literally hours. I was going to say minutes, but an hour before one event. Remember the event a couple of years ago where they had the cheese curds?
Yes.
And they had to throw them over the hay bales?
Mm-hmm.
So we're in a judges meeting. Dave's like, Rob, I need you. 20 minutes later, Rob comes back sweaty, covered in hay, because he's testing. Like, that's how fit he is. He's testing the workouts to make sure things go well. So, but that was what I was wondering. I'm like, hey, I wonder what they're saying. So, did you get any feedback on your judging during it?
Just to make sure, like, hey, this is blocking this particular camera. Not so much on the standards and the movement stuff like that, but like, hey, Lewis, like, make sure that you're on the opposite side of the athlete because your back may be like covering the camera. We need to be able to see a little bit better. So little cues like that, make sure that the athlete's mostly showing the video. So they could actually see us in the video, but like depending on where you stand and depending on what workout it was, we may have to run around the athlete or move around different obstacles and stuff like that. So they were just mostly like, hey, Lewis, a little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right. Hey, like
so you'd
30
hear
seconds
them
left. I hear them.
How was it hard for you to, like, typically at the games, you would have the head judge come up to you. So it's very easy to know they're talking to you. But when you're so focused on judging and you got 18 other judges potentially getting spoken to, how hard was it to pick up, oh, they're talking to me?
Oh, they're pretty easy. They were like, Lewis, Cheryl's judge, move to the left.
Okay, and you were just like, but you had to decipher, okay, whether they're saying Lewis versus Michael versus, Sally. So, and it's harder because at the games, all 10, 20, 100 judges know to do the same exact pattern down the field or wherever you are, where like you said, while the boxes are pretty much standard across 18 athletes, there may be some little details that are different that you hadn't considered.
Yeah.
So, knowing your background, was there any part of you that just wanted to maybe rap for Cheryl during the workout since she didn't have any music?
Oh man, I remember at one particular point I did start like before I think to like 10 minutes out. I started, girl, let's get pumped up. We start dancing and things like that. So not so much rapping, but I'll try to get her excited and things like that. And she would go, and it's so funny because she's this tiny little thing. I think she was like maybe like 110, 150 pounds.
Yeah, she's tiny. Yeah.
And she would just be dancing and getting along with all my hip hop stuff. So it was pretty cool.
So at the games, it's really important. Like, hey, you're here to judge. You're not a cheerleader. And there's always a little bit of like probably 5% of encouragement. Like, we really try not to, but like you can't help but root for your athlete. Was this a little different?
I'm still trying to maintain. I want to still say the same thing, like the 5, 10. I want to say a little bit more. Like the game's like 5%. Because you built this one-on-one relationship, I want to say 10%. Like I would tell her, like I would look down at my watch, like we got 2 minutes. You need to pick it up. Like,
yeah, like stuff like that. You say at the games, like, dude, you got to go right now, type of thing.
Yeah.
Or this guy's, I remember during Mary, I was coaching, and it's funny because like I know I've created friendships while judging one workout. So I can imagine what this was like for you, like someone I speak
6
to.
workouts.
Yeah, 6 workouts and all this downtime. You just want them to do well. You can't. That does. And for the listeners, understand, like, you can be invested and want this person to do well, but still judge them. Like, I'm not letting you get away with no reps. I'm gonna no rep you, but that doesn't mean I don't want you to succeed.
Absolutely.
Tell me about the downtime. What was the biggest break you had? You were lucky in that your time zone was 1 hour from Rogue, right? You were East Coast, Rogue is, I believe, Central. But I mean, like I was talking to Fern and Todd on the episode about, I'm like, man, there must have been people working out middle of the night.
Yeah. So
What was
for me, it
the
wasn't that bad.
what was the toughest time zone, do you think, that someone that you are aware of had to work out in?
I think my buddy that was judging Cara, they would see Cara sleep in Cara had like a mattress, and she would sleep for like 2 hours, 3 hours before they would even be able to work out again and things like that. And then, that's really early in the morning for an athlete, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So
It's
we
really
had
early in the morning for anyone.
anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I would never want to work out at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I am not functional at the time. I
Most
mean,
days
I
I
get
don't
up.
want to work out at 2 in the afternoon.
I think the ones that are overseas had it the roughest, just for the fact is that they had to be there 2 or 3 o'clock their time, and they're waiting, and sometimes they would wait in the parking lot, wait for the either car or the owner, whoever the owner of the gym is, to open up the particular gym. And then they don't want to stick around. They're tired. They want to just hurry up and go. Like me, I'm in the afternoon, so I could take my time. I mean, the stage manager would ask, hey, we just finished wrapped up for the day. Do you want to have dinner? Like, things like that. The owner of the gym, like, hey, you want to come over and have a barbecue at my house? So it's a lot different when it comes to that, because you are building these relationships, not just with the athlete, but with the stage manager itself, and then with the owner of the box that actually owns the box stuff.
So what was the biggest difference in time for the workout, like a start time to the second workout of the day that you
For
had?
me, I think the longest time I waited was maybe like an hour and a half. And during that particular time, I would prep. So workout would finish. I would immediately have to get the signature done from the regular scorecard. There were still regular scorecards that were signed. I would then have to take a picture of the scorecard, upload it to the head judges so they can they could have proof of it and things like that. We had a spreadsheet, so we had to do like a drop down spreadsheet of many different things, like is the athlete appealing, was the athlete on time, like these different questions. So every workout was a questionnaire, so that probably took about 10 minutes just to do all the questionnaire things for the athlete. And then the scorecard, she moves really well, so it was really never any kind of appeal or anything that was done. Everything was, I communicate very well. Like, I even tell them, like, I know for the most part they even tell us at the games not to even count for the athletes, but like, I need to keep accountable for myself. If not, squirrel runs by, I get distracted, so many different things going on. So I'm counting. I get, for double unders every 10, 10, 20, 30. So I'm very vocal with them. So I was blessed enough to do that. But an hour and a half, and then during those hour and a half times, it was cool. I mean, Cheryl would be like, hey, I'm going to go to Starbucks. You want me to get you a coffee? I'm like, sure.
Hell
The
yeah.
athlete's getting,
Yeah, dude.
the athlete, what do you like? I like an Americano, one
Did,
Splenda.
was there any point in any of these workouts where she got angry with you for your judging?
Not at all. You do get to see a different side, though, because you were there with them on a one-on-one. You get to see the emotional side, whether if they're happy with themselves, or they think they could have done better, or if they do really well, they're very happy with themselves. So you get to see that emotional roller coaster they go through, because you're asking these athletes. I think we did 3 workouts a day. You have to get really amped up to get yourself through these workouts with no music and no motivation, no crowd. They're feeding off of no energy. They're just doing the workout of how you would do like in a gym if you were by yourself. But they have to do it. They're competing for prizes, and they don't know where their other competitors are at. They don't know if Tia's ahead by 2 reps or if Tia missed the lift or what's going on. They are just performing what they couldn't do at that particular time.
How
So
much different do you think that, and I know I'm going to reach out to Cheryl and see if she'll come on and talk about it, but how much different do you think it was for her or for any of the athletes? I watched a little bit. I know there was a workout where Sam Briggs did like a shit ton of extra reps that were unnecessary,
snatches, I
right?
think, or
The
was it?
snatches, right? Yeah, because she just didn't know. So
Mhm.
was there any sort of communication? Did you have any idea where another athlete was?
We did. So
You
for an
did, but
example,
she didn't,
she did
right?
not know. We did, because we're getting communicating in our headsets. So perfect example is the clean and jerk ladder. And I think this is like everyone saw how how intense it was when Tia hit the 265, and she's looking at the camera. She's like, did anyone else hit 265? And my workout had ended. So if your athlete didn't obviously clear the ladder at that particular point, your workout is done. You have to stay in your box for a certain amount of time, and you can get off camera. And then Rogue would only focus on the athletes that are left. So their live feed will get cut, and it only focuses on the last 2 athletes or whoever's left doing a clean jerk. So we're actually physically watching the screen, and we can hear what's going on because that's still plugged in. And I think when everyone, even the other athlete, even Cheryl, when we're watching the clean and jerk ladder, You see Tia hit the 265. She looks at her stage manager, which is her husband, Shane. And she's like, do I have to keep going? He can't say nothing. He's like, keep going. I'm like, oh my God, no one hit 265 and they're going to tell this poor lady to keep going. You know, like,
You know,
no.
I feel like if it were Roz, like we could have a look enough to know. Like we don't have to say anything, but I'd be like, just with my eyes. Shane, you know, I don't know him other than my few interactions, but he probably is someone that wanted her to go for it anyway. But
Yes, and I think we
so
all did. Cause I think
you
we all
couldn't
did.
have
Like,
you couldn't have the live feed there then? Like they weren't allowed to have the live feed during the workout?
so how everything was good. There's supposed to be no electronics that are going on, nothing in the
Right.
background. Even banners had to be taken down if there was gym banners. The only person that really has access to it is like if your gym is like a more up-to-date gym that has TV screens, you can maybe see the TV screens. But again, depending on the athlete's setup, they may not be able to see that particular TV screen unless someone actually physically brought a TV screen out for them. I wasn't aware of anyone that did that, but I know like the stage manager did have laptop. I had my laptop, and the stage manager did have their laptop, and it was not facing towards that athlete. It was just facing like on a chair, and we would just watch in between like where people were at and things like that. So I think Shane wanted her just to push a little harder and put on a show. I think at one point it was just like, just let her keep going. It's a show at this particular point.
So overall, comparatively to the games or to last year's Rogue Invitational, fair competition?
100% fair. Same equipment, pretty much same judges. And then you could say is like, oh, so-and-so had to wake up at 2:00 in the morning. The other person
Time zone,
at 5.
right.
Time zone. But I mean, there's always going to be those little tiny details and stuff like that. But if you're fit, you'll be able to perform at any particular time, to be honest. Everything was a fair playing field for, at least in my eyes.
Have you guys already had a follow-up call about, is it something that you have a follow-up call with, or is it just like, hey, that was a one-off given the state of the world?
No, so even the Rogue right now is currently doing these live streams of the power. They just did like a strongman powerlifting deadlift thing. That was pretty amazing. I think Rogue has the ability to do something that's really different, and they're maybe tweaking a couple of things. So when things are going to go live, I think we'll have that live aspect. We're also going to have that really cool feeling of going back into a stadium once the world's done being crazy, and we'll be able to actually physically sit in the same room with someone without 10,000 masks on to watch someone compete and all that kind of craziness. But I think it's something that's going to continue on, because who knows when things will go back to normal, when people actually physically can compete together. I know the games were going to try to do it in California with no spectators and all that kind of stuff, which is very doable. But I think Rogue is onto something, and I think they know this is probably going to happen for a little while. And it may open the doors for other things, other spin-offs or other Rogue events and things like that.
And you say that, other spin-offs, but in reality, I know you can't really quantify it, but how hard was this for Rogue?
Oh man, how hard is it for Rogue?
Just like, other people like, oh, I want to do that. Like, how much stuff are we just unaware of that went on behind the scenes, and to pull off something, I mean, basically flawlessly their first year?
It takes a whole lot of love and a lot of people that you really can depend on, and people that that are going to get the job done. These are people that are sitting there like Drake and Rob, and programming and testing these workouts and going over these things, and then getting on calls with the judges. And then this is Katie and her Rogue staff making sure that each athlete gets equipment. On top of that, we had backup cameras that were sent up to us. Like every athlete had a GoPro. This takes money to do this thing. This is not something like, oh, I can do this in my garage and have a little let's pay a $20 fee. No, this is like a real thing. Like this is time investment. This is people investment. You have stage managers. You have equipment that's being mailed out. You have, judges that are, flying or driving into these particular locations. You're having so many different things. Like these athletes, the athlete got to keep the equipment, or sometimes the gym gets to keep it, depending on the situation that was going on. But this takes a lot of money and a lot of love to do. This is something that's definitely not easy, and especially to be able to pull off the live feed. That's not something that can just be like, oh, we're just going to Zoom workout this thing. That's a little bit more complex than that. I mean, they even had commentators, and the commentators, they have big commentators.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the clean event. Coach Bergner's on there. Sean Woodland's on there. Yeah, I mean, it's great.
I mean, they even had Annie. They brought games athletes. They went. This is something this is a production. So
That's how Rogue does it. Rogue doesn't do anything small.
I would tell you one thing. Being that I got to experience the 2019 Invitational at Rogue, and just to see how they pulled off their own mini games. Pretty much, they have 67 acres. I mean, they had their own area. You know, the games we had the area with the cheese curds. We had to dump. They had their own area to do their own kind of cheese curd things. They also had their own little side area, like where the obstacle course would be. They had their own area where, like, they had a shooting event in that particular area. But they have enough manpower, enough love, and enough. They're just if I could just say, they're just, everything they do is above and beyond. Just look at their equipment and just look, they're a class act. They go above and beyond in everything that they do. It's top notch, even to the food that they feed us.
So tell me one thing without spoiling it, without giving away anything more than you want to. What's the coolest is that you think is the coolest thing you got from Rogue to be a judge?
The coolest
Just like
thing.
what were you like, wow, this is really sweet. Could have been your hotel, it could have been your, lobster dinner, it could have been a pair of nanos. Like, what's one thing that we don't know that you got that you're like, wow, this is what happens when you bust your ass for 7 years and now I'm considered one of the top judges in the world?
They gave you they financially rewarded you beyond
You're
what
retired?
I thought.
You're retired now?
I think I may just sell my box now. No, the financial reward and also on top of that, the swag that you get from them. I mean, we all have to be pretty much in uniform, so we get the nanos and we get excited about wearing the new nanos and stuff like that. But on top of that, I mean, they gave us a Rogue gift card that was very nice and it was just, you could have bought yourself a nice little setup with the amount of gift cards that they gave us for that thing. So
yeah.
I'm just waiting for my goodies to come in the mail as we speak.
Were you able to order some of the stuff that was sold out? Did they give you access to that?
As far as which things that were sold out,
like just gear, like I want to buy a squat stand, for example, and they're sold out.
The things that were sold out, we wouldn't be able to get. Whatever was available, we would be able
Gotcha.
to pick and choose from.
Hold the card until stuff is available again, I assume too.
Absolutely. So it was just like, here's this nice card that you have here.
Yeah.
Whatever you see on there that you want. So like I have a gym, so I didn't have to really want equipment, but it was like a bunch of other stuff that I want, like, the backpacks and like gear and little things that I wouldn't just get like for myself. Because I'm like, I have a squat rack at home and I have a squat rack at the gym. Like, I'm not gonna buy myself another squat rack, but I could have if I wanted to. But
is that a Rogue nose ring that you have?
It may be. I should, right?
All right. So last question, Lou, and I don't want to dive too far into this because I've done it nonstop for the last month. But you guys were judging in the midst of the CrossFit chaos. Not just the pandemic, but I mean, you were judging. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the day after the podcast by Andy Stumpf came out.
Yes, and I think a week or two before that is when the whole
tweet went out and all of that.
Went out.
Yeah. So, without diving into the politics and all that of it, what was it like from that perspective? Was it harder on you? Was it like, man, was it just depressing? Like, how did you feel knowing you were part of a CrossFit event, but the world of CrossFit was completely shaken up?
My heart hurt. I've invested so much into this. It's something that I love doing. I mean, we talk about life savings, investing to a gym. Being, more than anything, you've owned like 10,000 affiliates.
10,001, yes.
And the love and the sacrifice that needs to be done because it's something that you believe in. And just to be like, hey, we're going to throw this competition. You're so used to Rogue saying we're doing a CrossFit event, and now it's just a fitness event and things like that. So, and then not knowing where you're going to stand, and your members questioning you during this particular time. So is this a CrossFit event or what it is? I said, no, this is a Rogue event. So it was almost like a changing of the guards. It was bittersweet. Like, okay, well, like, I'm a CrossFitter. I think I would always say that I'm a CrossFitter. I'm not a functional fitness guy. I'm a CrossFitter. That's what I do. I do CrossFit. I coach CrossFit. I love CrossFit. It's part of my DNA. My daughter was doing CrossFit in the womb. This what it is. So it definitely was a crazy, hurtful time because, even seeing that, some of how everything's going with the athletes and how the games are going to be obviously a lot different and things like that. It was just and it was like a bittersweet moment. Like I'm still being able to do what I love to do and judge and coach and be able to perform this, but am I going to be able to use the word CrossFit? That word means something to me, you know?
Yeah, it was tough because you can even hear it on the broadcasts, when the word CrossFit would have been what was said, thinking about other words to say, but who knows what's going to happen now. But with the change, hopefully we can start seeing, CrossFit events again, and not just with the change, but with the world. Hopefully we can start seeing this open up again.
Absolutely. This will be big for me because I had so many really cool things, that was going to be a part of. And just, like for example, like Wadapalooza was another thing that I got to be part of, and which is, helping direct that particular thing. And that was a cross event. Now it's not a CrossFit event. It's just, it's a bittersweet thing. So hopefully everything goes smooth, and we'll let time heal. This is what time usually does. It usually heals. So.
I hope so. So, anything I missed, that you think the audience, the listeners would like to hear about the Rogue Invitational?
Um, Definitely, if they have not checked it out, definitely go look at it. Even the way that it's shot on their YouTube page and things like that, go check it out if they've never seen it before. And that's look forward to more stuff coming from Rogue, because this is going to be a really, really cool thing. So it's going to be pretty
Well,
deep.
thanks for so much for talking about it, Lou. You and I could talk about a lot of things, but it was really good to kind of focus on that. You were, one of 36 people that can speak on that, which is pretty cool. Pretty awesome accomplishment. And I think if anyone's listening still, what they need to take from this is, Lou had to work hard to get there. A lot of people want to get there. Put your time in, find your passion, and then, show up and do work like Lou did. Show up, and I remember, Lou and I know each other a long time about nutrition, and I posted a picture of Lou, and my buddy texted me, he's like, "This dude doesn't skip leg day," and that's just an insight into how you do everything, right? How you do one thing is how you do anything. The care that you put into your training and into your leg day, you put into everything in life. So that's why, it's always an honor and pleasure to speak to you and to consider you a friend. So thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you for having me. And again, I'm honored just to be, talking to you. So you're my buddy for life, brother.
Will you take us out with something?
Huh? Yes. So if you guys do not know, go out there, guys, and have an amazing day. Go out there and thug them, love them, and go out there and be blessed. With that being said, peace out.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day.
Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't already, do us a favor, head over to the Apple Podcast app and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback for either Fern or myself, hit us up, besthouroftheirday@gmail.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram at besthouroftheirday. Once again, we couldn't do this without the amazing community, and you are a part of it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting Best Hour of Their Day.